So it's 8 o'clock in the morning. We've still got quite a long way to go. Slept pretty well last night actually. For some weird reason though, this campsite, so I'm set up here obviously, and look at all the other people around me. Oh, hang on. Oh, okay. For some reason I seem to be on my own. Bit weird. Also, very long grass on the pitches. There's a big hole over there which I was lucky I didn't reverse into. When I was parking last night, I spotted it at the last minute. I thought I was going to fall into it. Right, so we've got to go and negotiate the motorways around Toulouse, which is another somewhat sucky bit, which I don't really enjoy driving very much. It's a very confusing area. There's lots of tolls, all sorts of toll booths, and the traffic always is a complete pig around Toulouse for some reason. As you can see, I've travelled light whilst I was doing my overnight because I'm in the same gear as yesterday, but genuinely, definitely is the next day now. Let's get going. Temperatures in Andorra today are supposed to be into the mid-teens, and the problem has been over the last few weeks is that it's just not warmed up like it normally does. There's even been some late snowfall as well, which, okay, that's happened before, but normally it goes after a few days. This was a lot of snow. You know, we're talking winter levels of snow. And we're just going into a tunnel here. There we go. Yeah, so we're talking big snowfall. I mean, I've seen images of them out with snow plows, with multiple feet of snow deep at both sides of the road in some of the high areas, and that just doesn't happen at this time of year. The reason I'm explaining all this to you now is that we're now approaching Andorra quite quickly. It's been an hour or so since I left the campsite this morning, and you can see we're in the mountains now. We are heading towards, I say heading towards the border, that's not entirely true. It's a long way to the border from here. Despite the fact there are only 93 kilometres, that's like 60 miles, to go, it's going to take just under 2 hours to get there still. And when people ask me about transfers from Toulouse and why I don't recommend trying to travel from Toulouse, that's why. 90 kilometres, 2 hours, that's showing you just how slow these roads are up through the mountains on the French side. So to get to the French border, we've got to climb up and up and up and up and up through the mountains for a long time on a very twisty, turny road, which again I'm hoping is not going to be too affected by snow. I'm sure that's fine, don't worry. But we won't reach the border probably for another, I would suspect, hour and 15 minutes or something like that, even though the border's actually only, 70 kilometres away. So yeah, let's see what happens when we get there. Anyone that rides with us regularly will recognise this sign. What they won't recognise is the fact that there's bloody snow everywhere. So obviously this time of the year, this shouldn't be here. So this is actually where we start Skyfall. It's also where we start the trails that go over to Soldeo, basically. So normally we climb up in this direction, up to the top of the mountain, and it currently is completely buried. So it's going to cause some headaches. It's got to be said. There's no doubt about it, because we've got to get some riding done, and unfortunately, one of our main access points, for the time being at least, is buried. So yeah, slightly worrying. And it's not even just a little bit buried. So normally when I arrive here, I have a little tradition, which is that whenever I arrive into Andorra, the first thing I do when I park up, delivering frozen goods there, seems ironic. Yeah, the first thing I do is I stop in this pass here. This is called the Port d'Envalera, and this is 2,408 metres, as the sign says, and it's the highest road in the Pyrenees. So you might say, well, you expect it to be covered in snow then? No, you don't expect it to be covered in snow. It just doesn't happen. That's not how this works. So what should happen is that, that by now, by this point of the year, everything is defrosted. And I normally park just here behind me and take a picture. As you can see, the snow behind me is currently higher than I am. So that is a crap ton of snow. So quite frankly, this is exceptional weather. This is not what we expect to see at this time of the year. So looking over in this direction, you can see some more of our trails over here. So you've got, over here, you've got the Soldeo lifts, and that's where we go to ride Geordie's Way, and it's also where we go to ride the Ridgeliner Trail as well. And at the moment, both of those are completely buried. Normally, those are two of the ones that become usable the most quickly. So, yeah, I'm hoping that this means that at least that area will defrost a little bit quicker than this area has. I mean, you can see just here, that is over in this direction, we've got the top of the gondola at Soldeo. And then if you follow that straight line that goes right up the middle there, you can see that here? There's a straight line coming straight up the middle there, covered in snow. That's the trail that we sometimes climb to get up to the top of the mountain. And that area right at the very top, that sort of the rounded lump at the top there, is where we have a bit of a rest before we either go down Geordie's Way or over to Ridgeliner. Right, well, let's take a drive. Let's head down into Andorra properly, and let's see what we can see. I'm not going to get overly stressed because I'm aware how quickly this can melt, but it certainly is suboptimal, let's say. So here we go, we're heading down towards Soldeo. I'm going to shut the window so you can hear me better. Just drinking myself a cup of coffee. Bizarrely, it might look cold, but it really isn't. It's even at the top of the pass up there, where sometimes it's really very brisk. It was still happily into the teens, it was quite pleasant, so temperature-wise we're looking okay, which obviously is going to help with that snow melt. Now, I'm looking around over here, so as the van swings around this left-hand corner, you're going to be looking directly into an area that we ride quite regularly. So all of this stuff that's in front of us right now, that whole area here, is an area we ride all the time. I'm now kind of passing below the snow line. It's dependent on which side of the valley you're looking at. Over in front of us here is an area called Guidng, and that's a big ski area. We don't ride over there, and this always has some snow on it, so that's normal. But it's not normal to have it anywhere sort of below those pointy, sticky uppy mountains up the top there, which are very spectacular, even more so than usual with snow on. But I would rather they were a little bit less snowy for me to be comfortable. So yeah, we've just dropped, like I say, below that snow line as we head down. Now, road at the top's 2,400, so I would estimate here we are now dropping down to around 2,100, I would think, 2,000-ish, 2,200 maybe. Now that was my guess as to where the snow line was going to sit. Finally getting my morning coffee as we drive down here. yeah, so there's a lot of water around. I can see sort of running along the side of the road here next to me is a small stream, which is snowmelt. Which, yeah, okay, that's unsurprising. You would expect there to be snowmelt, obviously, of course there is. But the reason I'm mentioning that is that will throw up a secondary issue, which is that means the trails are going to be very wet. Our main problem in Andorra is dust. It isn't wetness. So even if the snow melts, I suspect things are going to stay wet for a little while, unfortunately, or soggy. I mean, I've heard reports from the Alps that some of the alpine bike parks are planning to be closed until August. Yeah, okay, that's a bit worrying, isn't it? But down here in Andorra, it warms up a lot sooner. We start our summer here a good month earlier than the Alps, really, or supposedly, anyway. So hopefully, I'm saying hopefully a lot, aren't I? All things being equal, this snow should melt off in the next, let's say, I would guess 3 weeks until it starts to become more usable. But there's still going to be some patches up high, and I can see those lasting right through. We're dropping down now to Soldeo. So that's what you can see down here in front of us. This is the main road through Andorra. So this is as built up as Andorra really gets outside of the city itself. But yeah, so this is Soldeo. You'll visit Soldeo a few times in a week with us here in Andorra, riding on the Enduro holiday anyway. And this is where the gondola goes up the mountain. So actually just here you can see there's some construction happening down on the left down there. Well, that's had an unfortunate knock-on effect, which is that because that construction is still ongoing, the bike park at Soldeo this year, we are told, is now not planning on opening, which is very sad news. Now, the worrying thing about that is that would mean that we then can't access the top of the mountain. Apparently the golf course is still going to stay open, ridiculously. However, they're not opening the lift to bikes at all. But we have gained special permission from one of our friends who is the senior boss at Soldeo here, who is called Geordie. And yes, that is the same Geordie as Geordie's Way is named after. And Geordie has assured us that we have special dispensation to use the lift, so we can still get up the mountain even though no one else on a bike will be able to. So the general situation so far is very problematic up high, but less problematic than I expected a little bit lower. So there is some hope to be drawn from that. What I'm going to do now is we're going to drive down to Canio, which is the next town down the valley here, and we're going to take a right-hand turn in Canio, and we're going to drive up to the top of the Col d'Ordino, which is above the town of Ordino, and that is where a lot of our favourite local trails start from. So getting up there for a look-see is probably a good idea. Just because once we get to Canio and we get over the top of the Col d'Ordino, we're able to see a lot of our riding from that viewpoint, and I'll be able to identify very specifically where the snow line is sitting as well, because I know exactly how high the Col d'Ordino is. So from here, I mean, I can see it now, and it looks good. It looks perfectly clear up there, actually. So yeah, let's go and have a look anyway. So just pulled up at the top of Col d'Ordino, which is a great viewpoint. I mean, you'll definitely come here on one of our holidays because there's a whole bunch of trails up here. But what's important is getting out and having a quick look at our surroundings. So come out and have a look at the view with me, because I've got to tell you, this is one of the most beautiful spots in Andorra. So with the snow on it, it looks extra, extra gorgeous. So here we go. So the snow line's not looking too low over this side. I can see Val Nord over there. Looking at the Val Nord webcams over the last few days, I thought it might look worse than it does. So yeah, I mean, basically behind me up here, that's the highest peak. So if anything's gonna be covered in snow, it's that. So that's fair enough. So let's have a quick wander over here. Now this is actually where we come and sit and eat lunch quite often with you groups of guys. So let's just get a little bit higher up. So before I was talking to you about an area called Arcalis, and that's the area that I saw that had the snow plows and stuff on it. That's up in that area over my shoulder here. Yeah, it's pretty snowy, but the snow line over here is nowhere near as low as I expected. But when we look over this direction, actually towards Val Nord, you can see the road covered in snow up there as well, which goes over into Spain. So, difficult to say really. But the Col here is completely clear. There's a little bit of snow dapple up in the trees up here over my shoulder. So that means, I mean, basically, we're at 2,000 meters here. That's probably 100 meters above me, and even that isn't particularly thick snow. So I reckon further into Andorra here, probably the snow line's more like 2,200, I would guess. Now, looking over this way, as you can see, it's a pretty spectacular view here, because you've got a view right around, all the way around. So you've got mountains right around you here. It's gorgeous. So looking this way, anyway, so this is the opposite direction. And over this side, Geordie's Way comes out over here. I can't see Geordie's Way from this angle, obviously, because it's around the corner of that mountain. What I can see is over here, over this shoulder. Now this is where Ridgeliner comes down. Now doesn't it surprise me that that area would melt fairly quickly, because Ridgeliner, although it's high, is a big ridge of rocks. So obviously they're going to warm up and they're going to transmit heat. So the snow is, from this angle, appears to be almost gone up there. Now where the ridge comes along, so we start up at the very, very top up here where the lift station is that you might just be able to make out, and we follow that ridge all the way down and then behind these trees. So we come over the top on the left-hand side where there is still quite a lot of snow. So getting to it is going to be the issue. I suspect the snow on it is going to be pretty either thin or non-existent. I mean, you can't quite see behind this cliff face here. The trail's just the other side of that, so you can't quite see the actual trail itself. But my suspicion is that actually it's probably not too bad up there, actually, right now. Pretty stunning, huh? There's worse places you could be hanging out right now. I could just stand here and look at this for a long time, but I've got to go and get the keys to our apartment. So we're dropping down from the Col d'Ordino now, back down to Ordino and then into La Massana itself, where I'm going to pop into the Val Nord offices, where my good friend Anna has got hold of my apartment keys, and that's the apartment that we all stay in. People think that we probably stay in something plush. Yes, you'll see. So here we are in the middle of La Massana. I've just picked up the apartment keys, and we're going to head along and hopefully let ourselves in. I keep saying we and ourselves. I am going to go along and hopefully let myself in. But yeah, this is the main town centre sort of area, and we're going to drive around the lift station here, which is on our left. Sort of this big it's a big island really in the middle of town, big roundabout almost, with hotels and the lift station on it. So we're just going under the lift station right now. So here we go, under the lift, and we're going to head along this road. And at this stage, quite a lot of things are still shut. It's a little bit too early season, so Peak Negra bike shop, where this white van is pulling in, is still all boarded up, which doesn't surprise me because they're not a year-round bike shop. The only proper year-round bike shop is Riders Boutique, who are our mates and who we recommend very heartily, and who, if you're renting a bike via our website, that's where it's going to come from. So just heading out of the town centre towards where our apartment is. Favourite bar on the left here, Buratino, looks like it's going to open a little bit later this afternoon. Shutters are up a little bit. And up on the mountain up there in front of us is where Locals Only and Test Track and a few other trails come down. And yeah, that's beautifully clear of snow, very, very thankfully. So I was just picking up the keys there in the offices of Val Nord from Anna, and she was saying that actually they were all on target to have all the snow melted perfectly on time, but this sudden snowfall a couple of weeks back has really screwed them over. So, need to find a parking space, which is never easily done, and get the van unloaded. Oh, so they've got the whole pavement blocked off all along one side, right where I need to unload. That's very annoying. Well, there might be a space just here that I can zip myself into. Hopefully I can fit in the back of this with the cycle carrier on board. Well, that's super handy. I've managed to get parked right in the middle of town centre. Welcome to La Massana. So in the end we did make it to Andorra, clearly. Well, you saw. I'm not going to give you much of a tour of our epic abode. Suffice to say, this is it. Let's go backwards through the flat. This is quite weird, isn't it? So just walking through, this is where we live, basically. So yeah, it's long and thin, with bedrooms and bathrooms and things that you normally expect to have. But as you can see, we don't exactly live in the lap of luxury, especially in the kitchen department, which is a little bit lackluster, unfortunately. But what we do have when we go outside is we do have a rather amazing view out the back. Kind of makes up for the kitchen. So out here, obviously we can see the mountains. So let's just bring you a little bit closer down to me here so that I can see a bit better. So up here is that's not the top of the mountain. The top of the mountain is a lot higher up. So can you see that ridge line over here going up over there? Yeah. Well, that is that's the ridge of Locals Only. So that's from about, so Locals Only is nearly a 10k descent, nearly, something like 9k I think. And the section up there, sort of coming around the corner, is probably about a quarter of the way down it. So that ridge is up at about 1800 metres. So when we were in the meadow looking at the view earlier on, we were basically behind this knoll, but 900 metres higher than where I'm stood at the moment, basically. Then when we come around this way, you can see up the valley in the direction of Arcalis, and you can see it's still kind of snowy up here in this area. Pretty thick snow right now. So you're looking over towards Val Nord over here. So where that orangey cliff is over on the left, that's the bottom of Val Nord. So yeah, we get a pretty nice view out of our window with some nice meadows and some... Where are the cows? Oh, the cows are over there. It's alright, they've moved since earlier on. So yeah, it's okay. If you're staying in town with us, you will be at the hotel, which is right over that way. You can almost see it from here. If it wasn't for some trees, you could probably go outside the hotel and wave at us. Our favourite bar is just over there as well. So you can see just, it's hard to make my finger point in the right place, just over there. You see this like a white veranda. That's Mon Bohemi, that's our favourite bar, and that's where we'll meet you the first night. Yeah, so that's it. We're in Andorra. So we've been all the way from home to home away from home, and now we just need to do a bit of bike maintenance tomorrow, because this poor thing is actually needing a little bit of TLC. It's had its suspension serviced, but need to give the poster bleed and the brakes a bit of a look at before first people arrive on Saturday. And if that's you, looking forward to seeing you.